Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion with Kevin Mello, New Bedford, Massachusetts. Recently, I just had a meeting with Mayor John Mitchell and Catherine Shuko. You can see it here on my channel, where I was asking for transparency in the public records. And also, the city had put out some statements, and I'm addressing them with Catherine Shuko. I'd like to show you a piece of that puzzle tonight. Okay, let's get over to the documents here. City Solicitor's Office. Right here. This is my preliminary injunction. They were subpoenaed. New Bedford Housing Court denied my application for a preliminary injunction, temporary restraining order, and found that the owner of 236 Hemlock Street had acted diligently. I do have the transcript to the preliminary injunction hearing. The court addressed a narrow question. It's whether the landlord had responded to the most recent Board of Health reports. And the judge had found that retaining professional pest control and scheduling follow-up treatment was sufficient to deny emergency relief at the time. The court did not address or decide the longer history of the infestation, the adequacy of earlier inspections. Now on September 10th, Joseph Cavallo opened up the case and handed it off to Pamela Borges. Pamela Borges was directed to come to the property at 236 Hemlock Street. Let me show you something. Okay, let me just run right back over here to the documents. Okay, this is 9/18/2025, 8:39 a.m. Pamela Borges went into the government system. What she's done here, she's changed the description of the complaint. The complaint originally had rats in the backyard. Well, she changed it to dog feces in the backyard and on the lawn furniture. Did she remove the word rat? She changed the location, cited 232 Hemlock Street. Now, I can't, by law, share with you the audio recordings from that preliminary injunction, but I can discuss it. And in it, Sean St. Aubin, the owner of this property, had a discussion with Pamela Borges, and in it he states, he's okay, he's not getting cited. That's a fact, friends. It's in the transcript. Now, based on my photographic evidence, video evidence, I contend that this was not fully reviewed. On-property conditions were not documented. So I made 7 administrative phone calls, 3 direct voicemail messages to Pamela Borges. They went unanswered. During those administrative phone calls, I never mentioned dumpster box 747 as a food source. I maintained that it was burrow holes and dog feces on property. I'll show you something. We're right back here at the documents. October 31st, the Department of Health conducted a follow-up inspection. Follow-up inspection? I've posed this question to the city. How do you do a follow-up inspection to a closed case? But let's dig deeper. They observed evidence of rodent activity, including rodent droppings on the property. The dumpster, which was reported to have a hole in the bottom, I never mentioned this dumpster until my meeting with Director Stephanie Sloan. And she thanks me for that meeting, and they're going to address the dumpster. This is November 6th. My meeting was the 4th. The judge in that preliminary injunction made it quite clear that treatment was ongoing with a follow-up inspection and treatment 2 weeks later on the 29th, where he was supposed to fulfill the order, fill in the burrow holes on property. Now, my purpose in continuing to gather records and preserve evidence is straightforward: to ensure that a complete history of the conditions and responses to those conditions are evaluated on the basis of the official record and evidence, so that the public and the courts can reach their own informed conclusions. It's my position that the Department of Health statements does not fully reflect the conditions that occurred on property. The inspection history shows unsolved conditions that contributed to rodent activity, including a failure to identify the food source attracting the rats. Rats just don't appear without a cause. A proper inspection should have identified contributing conditions, including food sources, waste conditions, structural access points. In my opinion, there was 2 failed inspections: 105 CMR 410-550, which recognized methods of extermination, eliminating harborage, removing or making inaccessible food sources. 105 CMR 410-822 requires inspectors to record all observed violations. I can fairly argue that identifying obvious harborage and food source is consistent with a regulatory method of rodent control. So the unresolved conditions at the property ultimately required court intervention to compel corrective action. After the hole in the dumpster and other contributing conditions were brought to the attention of the Department of Health, additional inspections and pest control measures followed. However, full compliance was not achieved until the court issued orders requiring the landlord to complete the necessary cleanup, repairs, and rodent control measures. The sequence demonstrates that both administrative enforcement and judicial action were necessary to obtain compliance and abate the conditions contributing to the infestation.